when you realize that, and then you get back to remembering that you're a boundless, limitless soul, you will start to remember and tap back into everything that makes you this boundless, limitless person who's fully capable of doing whatever you want. But society, for what no fault of its own, it's just because we're humans, like we're the only ones kind of screwing everything up. We generally walk around in fear, trying to survive when we don't really need to, and we're looking at everything from a lens of what's wrong.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Tiffany Alexander, and this is Unveiling Journeys. I have an amazing show for you, of course. Let me just tell you a smidge about me. I love people. I love hanging out with people. I love getting to know cool people. And here's what happens. I end up getting referrals to some phenomenal people. And here's what I say. Holy moly, you are so cool. How do I get to know more people just like you? And by the way, there's some people that I need you to know. Let me flip open all of my cool people and I'd love to share them with you. And if you're thinking, if I don't hang out with those people, and you say like this, hey, this conversation's been awesome. Who do you know that I need to know? Right. So you can start that little tiny snowball that turns into an avalanche of surrounding yourself with phenomenal people. And honestly, that's why the show was born, is because I could not contain all of the amazing people that I've been meeting, and I want to share their story and I want to share what they're all about and their wisdom that they provide to everybody. So, I have a great guest for you today. Everybody, do me a favor and welcome Sande. I'm so excited to have you here. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you're up to right now.
Thank you, Tiffany. So my name's Sande Golgart, and I think I'm just one of the more curious people that's trying to really dive in and sink my teeth into, like, what's life all about? How do we empty our karma, and how do we live the most expansive life while we have the opportunity to do so? So I run sandegolgart.com. We're creating communities for people to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel held, but then to take the steps and move out of and move into like their soul's energy. And the soul, to me, wants to grow. The soul is all about growth. And my job, now on the other side, having walked the terrain, is to help guide people through that process so that they too can let their soul grow, be as expansive as they want, live the most expansive life, which also means making room for other people to live their most expansive life without judgment, without criticism, letting other people be and doing their thing, so that you can make sure you're attracting all the right people, doing the most amazing things, which is whatever is amazing to you.
Yeah,
But I do believe like your most expansive life lives on the other side of your greatest fears.
I've heard that before. And I love that you just said it because I 100% agree with you. Because if I dig deep hard of what it is I'm afraid of, like that's my bottleneck. That's what's stopping me. Like, why didn't I ask that or say that or go here, do that? Right. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, the work that you're doing is incredible. You have phenomenal clients that are getting ridiculous results. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because you're doing such great things and pulling this out of people that maybe did they even realize they had this deep within them?
Well, they didn't, and most don't. That's why they're not living their expansive life. We, through no fault of anyone's, our parents, priests, teachers, librarians, coaches, all people that we've grown up, working with, being around, are all trying and doing their best, but they're signaling to us as learning creatures the way to act, the way to behave. And so we create these different identities ultimately to want to feel safe and to want to fit in.
Hmm.
And then
Right.
we keep those as our beliefs. And that's where some people might think, like, it's not safe for me to be heard. Because when I talk, my librarian told me to be quiet, I'm too disruptive. And someone might live with that thought the rest of their life and clam up and realize that the best way for me to fit in is to hold everything inside. Or you learn from somewhere else, and you probably learn based on different identities that we carry multiple things. And so for me, like, I found myself at the age 47, I'm now 53, carrying a ton of identities, beliefs, judgments, criticisms, kind of thinking and holding on to what I thought was right. And it actually just started to become almost overwhelming, where you almost can't breathe. And you're like, is this really how I wanted my life to go? I've done some amazing things and I'm around some amazing people. I've raised two beautiful, amazing, thriving kids. But I also feel this pressure that I'm supposed to act a certain way. I'm supposed to do certain things. And I just thought, I heard this quote, and it was from Rumi. And he said, when I chase after what I think I want, my life becomes a furnace of stress and anxiety. But when I sit in silence, I realize that what I want also wants me. It's looking for me and it will find me without pain. And I just thought, what a cool way to frame life. And I felt like I had to learn, what does that mean? And I realized like how much of me didn't want to sit still, how much of me didn't want to pay attention to the thoughts, the narratives, the stories going on in my head, even though they're running constantly. So I started dabbling with meditation, trying to just settle my nervous system, try to figure out like, am I safe to just stop doing some things? Am I safe to just kind of explore and, kind of get that childlike curiosity back in my life and go kind of find some things out? And step by step, very short, quick, tiny little steps compounding over time, I've realized like that giant, tightly wrapped hairball that are your thoughts and your stories and all your limited constraints are so easily unwound when you give yourself permission to do so. And you just start pulling one string at a time. Your shoulders start to drop, your breathing slows down, you start recognizing people, patterns, and you start realizing like, wow, there is so much more to life than I ever imagined. And I literally feel at age 53, I feel like a 13-year-old kid, like exploring the world, exploring the universe again.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have, another 50 years, who knows? But I know that right now in this moment, I'm going to get the most out of our time together and like really sink my teeth into seeing what's here, show up fully, and see where life takes me.
I love it. And you're able to bring people on this journey for themselves because you've created the structure for people to be able to come to you to experience this in the way that you lead them, right?
Yeah, most important, the structure's me. Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times we think like, oh, I want to help people. That's actually, I've found to be a signal from your subconscious that's saying you need to help yourself. Like I see everything as a mirror. So what's mirrored back, like things that trigger you, things that you don't like, things that you love, it's all mirroring back to your soul. And there's always something there for you to get curious about. Why do I feel judgment? Why would I care what that person's saying or doing? Why do I feel like this is not something fun if I've never tried it? And through those mirrors, you kind of start to see the places that you're stuck. And then you start to liberate yourself. And ultimately, you find complete freedom, which is nothing more than the space between your ears that's dropped all the limited constraints that you've built up. And now you're free to be exactly who you are. And when you are that free, not only are you expansive, but you're expansive enough to allow other people to just simply be themselves. Really listen to what it is, even picking up on nonverbal cues, body language, energy, and be able to sit with them and say, really, what would you want, out of life? And that container is actually you. One of the coolest things that I learned through some of the work that I did with Peter Crone, he was telling me about a relationship expert who taught him that people don't fall in love with a person, a place, a job. They fall in love with the version of themselves that they get to be when they're with that person. So I thought, what a cool way to approach life. Can I be so free that other people, when they're around me, are free to be their authentic self without judgment and without anything else? That's really the container. And then at sandegolgart.com, we're building out these educational tools, communities, and places where people can go to learn a little more about how can I be more expansive? How can I drop my limiting beliefs, live a little bit more expansively and start dabbling in it, and slowly start to grow and expand, make room for others, and then realize I could do whatever the hell I want. Why aren't I doing it? And then take a step and go do it. Try it, experiment, and have fun. Like, I believe that the earth is the biggest playground in the universe. We all got dropped here. And for a while, man, we're having a great time. We're dirtying ourselves up. We're playing in the mud. And then slowly it's like, no, you got to behave a certain way. You got to do certain things. You got to wear certain clothes. You got to say certain things at the right time. And you're like, man, this place got a lot less fun. Where did the fun go? And it's still the same beautiful, amazing playground. You kind of have to remember how free you are. Remember that all those things are just what your brain is picking up as ways to feel safe and accepted. They have nothing else to do with anything. And when you drop them, you go, oh my God, like these fake shackles I was wearing were just fake shackles.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, your life changes around you, and sometimes the people, but that's another day, another time, right? I want to
Yeah.
do
But
this.
yeah.
I totally want to crack into your story.
Yeah.
Where did all this start from? Like, where are you from? And did you even think you were going to be doing this as a kid? What did you want to be when you grew up? Like, it's such a loaded question. Like, what'd you go to school for? I want to know it all.
Yeah, in a weird way, yes. But I didn't know it at the time. I remember that I always thought this. So I was born in a small suburb of Denver, Colorado called Arvada, Colorado. And kind of into a normal suburban household neighborhood. But my neighborhood in particular has this really close group of friends. The neighborhood's called Club Crest. And we still to this day will all signal back to each other over text or wherever people are at in the world, like something about Club Crest. Like, we had this amazing free spirit to play. We invented games. We built forts. We just played constantly. And when we didn't have a game, we made up a game. And it just, like, I'm still friends with most of my friends from Club Crest to this day. But for me in particular, I would have these dreams where I could fly. And I don't know where they came from, but I'd have these visions, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever to leave the ground and kind of choose when you wanted to come back down. And as I got older, I saw this video from Michael Jordan, and it was called Come Fly With Me. And it felt like a personal invitation. So I took it as such and started doing toe raises and all these jumping exercises. And I thought, I'm going to fly, the way Michael Jordan flies. And I had 14 steps in my house. I would do 14 toe raises, 1,400 toe raises, 100 on every step, almost every night. And I never thought of it as work. I never thought of it as willpower. I thought of it as like inspired action. Like, I get to do this.
Yeah.
And I would get to the top and my calves would be cramped and I'd be so tired, but I would feel like, yes, progress. I'm one step closer. I had fingerprints all over the ceilings. We had 9-foot ceilings in our house. And fast forward a little bit, I became obsessed with basketball. And in 1990, I got pulled out of the crowd wearing street clothes, and I ended up winning the National Slam Dunk Contest in Lubbock, Texas.
Oh.
And it kind of showed me that when you take inspired action, the universe aligns and conspires to bring these dreams, to reality. And those dreams that you have as a kid can actually become your reality. So I got recruited in basketball. I actually started all 4 years at the University of Colorado in Boulder, just a little bit north of where I grew up. And then just as I signed a contract to go down and play in Brazil, professional basketball, we got the idea to go hike the Continental Divide and ski, because I grew up skiing. And I ended up on that trip blowing my knee out and having to slide down the mountain on my back to the car. And so my dreams of continuing to fly with a basketball in my hand were now over. But I had never dreamed of anything beyond that. I'd gone to school, I had taken classes, got my degree in marketing, and I knew that I wanted to be a business person, and I simply knew that I wanted to make money. That's all I knew. I wasn't inspired to go do it. It was like, okay, now you have to go do it. So without knowing much, without ever really having great business mentors or anything other than watching my mom, who had a really incredible career where she started as a secretary, no college degree, and she worked her way up to owner of a software company. So all I knew was what I had learned through athletics and learned from watching my mom and kind of mirroring her work ethic, which was size up the competition, outwork everybody else, and get promoted. Seemed like a pretty cool, structure to follow. So I did that. And there's other parts to the story, but I'll just talk about this and it'll lead us more quickly to the end. I did that for about 3 decades and I got promoted, new titles, bigger territories, more responsibility, more money, stock options, etc. And after about 30 years, my real goal was, can I put our 2 kids through college and have them enter the world with an unbelievable foundation, knowing that they're loved for exactly who they are, and go into the world debt-free and start creating on their own whatever life they wanted. And when that was done, it was like the first time I felt the ability to really exhale and try to see like, okay, now that that's over, what's here for me? And I had this health scare where I started getting these instant migraine headaches, which I look back on now as a real blessing, but they happened anytime I would take a sip of alcohol. And it was like instantaneous. It wasn't like the next day hangover. It was like you have a sip and here it comes.
Yeah.
So I just stopped, but I went to the doctor to ask, like, can you look and see, like, is there something wrong? And through process of elimination, they couldn't find anything wrong. And they said, the only thing left is to do a CAT scan. Maybe there's something going on in your brain. I did that. And I remember going home and being in my car and realizing this could come back and show me that I have very limited time left. And it made me like really sharpen my focus, kind of that fight or flight moment of like, hey, here's reality. Do you like where your life's at? Do you not? And I kind of remember myself kind of debating with myself. I've lived an amazing life. I've met some great people. I've done some cool things. But I know that there's more in the tank. I know that I haven't emptied my karma. But I was having these limited beliefs like, well, you're 47. You're a high-priced executive. There's all these young kids like with tons of energy. They're learning all these new tools. Could you really compete? Does anyone really want you? Or is it just time to kind of put your landing gear down and like coast in from here?
Yeah.
And I remember like the taste in my mouth of that thought was like, that ain't me.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't feel right. Like there's more to all of this. I've got to figure out what it is. And I said, however the results come back, I'm going to do one thing, and that is commit. I'm going to commit to emptying the tank and emptying my karma, doing whatever it is that I'm meant to do, whatever it is I want to do, whatever that is. At the finish line, I want to be crawling across. Like I gave it everything I had,
Everything.
and here's what I learned. Just approach life with this passion of curiosity more than anything else. And it led me to really get clear on my priorities. How do I want to feel? What do I want to experience? And then that forced me to kind of ask some different questions of different people to find out the answers of like, hey, how do we really stand? Sometimes questions that you're afraid to ask because you kind of know the answer.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, I've known I needed to ask this, but I haven't. And that's what beauty about getting serious and getting focused. All those things you never want to deal with start to come, and they're like, hey, if you want to really live, part of it is on the other side of the answer, right? The other side of fear. So that led me to start asking questions, doing different things, hiring coaches, compressing my learning. I had three very specific, really talented, unbelievable mentors. I first started with David Meltzer, who's an amazing guy. I got to know him, and he got to show me, like life on the other side of fear is like amazing, and your fear is nothing. Watch, it came from like spending money, doing things, having experiences. I did, like, we hopped on a private jet together, flew to Vegas, met Will I Am, like, he's like, see, all this stuff, there's nothing on the other side of fear but amazing stuff. And it's just how much of it do you want to participate in, with no right or wrong. It's just really get in touch with the way you feel, because most people don't really want to feel better about life. They want to get better at feeling. When you get better at feeling, you're like, do I really like this? Is this person like making my nervous system go into fight or flight, or are they making me feel more comfortable? And kind of start feeling your way through life, not thinking your way through life. And then I started working with Jesse Itzler, who's another amazing guy who might have the secret to like just having fun. Like, not only has he built a $5 billion company with marquee jets, but he's the most authentic guy I've ever been around, who just loves to have fun, compete, challenge yourself. But like, he's like the biggest kid that I know. So, he was mirroring back to me like who I felt like I was as a child. And I'm like, man, I want more of this. So I got to know him. I got to know his wife, Sarah Blakely, a bit, and her story. And then I stumbled upon Peter Crone, who then kind of taught me some unbelievable structures to just help set your soul free. He believes, and I've adopted a lot of his beliefs, which are that we are solely here to liberate our souls. And as I was working with Peter, I also took a trip to Bali. It was back in the jungle with a Hindu priest. He was telling me the same story. He was saying, look, from his perspective, and like, this just comes from his own experience, his level of awareness. He said, we travel as a soul, as energy, but we incarnate physically on the earth, because it's only in the physical reality that you get to liberate your soul. And you're here to get promoted. There's 7 levels up, 7 levels down. I'm not saying that this is the way, but this is what he was explaining to me. And the 7th level would be reaching like Buddha or Christ's level of consciousness. And the only way you'll do it is take physical form, have fun, try to figure out where you're stuck, and learn to liberate yourself so that you believe and remember you're a boundless, limitless soul having this amazing experience. So this all ties back into like Michael Jordan, who has been an unbelievable like idol of mine, somebody I've looked up to for my whole life. But I was laying there a couple months ago, and at 1 a.m, I just shot up, and I remembered a commercial that used to really motivate me. And the commercial was him, and he's talking to competitors, and he says, hey, look at me. Look me in the eye. It's okay. I know that you're scared, but so am I. But we're scared for different reasons. See, I'm scared of who I might not become, and you're scared of who I could become. Look me in the eye. I won't finish where I started, and I won't stop where I began. I know there's something within me, even if you can't see it yet. Look me in the eye. I have something more powerful than courage. I have patience. I will become everything I know that I am. And it just hit me in the night. Like, as I used to get motivated by that video, I used to think of like other people, a boss, someone you are trying to prove something to. Now, all of a sudden, I'm internalizing this amazing commercial, but I'm not speaking to a competitor. I'm speaking at first to my 5-year-old self.
Wow.
And my 5-year-old self, I'm saying, hey, look me in the eye. It's okay. I know you're scared. So am I. But we're scared for different reasons. See, I'm scared of who I might not become. You're scared of who we could become. Then at the end of that commercial, to me, it became clear that I'm talking to my 80-year-old self.
Ooh.
And I'm saying, I will become everything I know that I am. I have something more powerful than courage. I have patience. And I just imagine him nodding and smiling and going, he finally got it.
Hmm.
Isn't that cool? So
Yeah.
that kind of leads me to where I am. I've walked that terrain. I've kind of liberated my own soul of freedom, pure possibility, let go of all the things I thought that I knew. And I'm just open to seeing how life unfolds and showing up in the moment with all of my karma to say, let's see what's here.
Yeah.
And that brings me to one last book that I read, a year or so ago, which was The Lion Tracker's Guide to Life, which is about these South African lion trackers. And their motto is, I don't know where I'm going, but I know exactly how I'm going to get there. And it's all about being present and
Gives me
looking at that
chills.
first track and what can you take in from the smells, the scents, the look of the track, what's underneath the track. Was the lion stressed? Was he being chased? Was he meandering? Was he going to a water hole, or was he on the hunt? And all those things are clues about where to look for the next track. And if you think about that for life, like for me, what a cool way to live is like, man, I'm going to dive in, I'm going to live this fully, see what's here for me, and then feel, do I like this? Do I not like it? Do I want more of it? Is it working for me, or is it not working for me? Are these people like sapping my energy and pulling, more energy away? And it'll kind of guide you to being around the right people, doing the cool stuff you want to do, and experiencing life to the fullest.
Oh my goodness. This is so many good little nuggets. AI is going to have a hard time pulling out all of your one-liners from this whole thing. We're going to need 10x of the amount of shorts we pull out. So
Oh, it's
good.
good content.
It's such good content. I know you and I were like, we could talk forever. And
Yeah.
in this, I love how you brought up like your quote of talking to your 5-year-old self and your 80-year-old self. I just recently learned that as well, to have these conversations with my prior self. I never thought about talking to my older self or having that perspective. You brought something really cool to me today, because I'm like, listen, whatever your old self, working through stuff in your past and being able to
Yeah.
heal and resolve stuff to be able to let you be who you are.
Yeah, like
Um,
your 5-year-old self's like, it wants to go, it wants to explore and do stuff and, say different things. And then your 80-year-old self with more patience is like, maybe you don't need to act out on everything. And so I look to my 80-year-old self, like when I'm stuck, like you'll want to take action on something, you'll want, to move. And I've learned for me with my personality, my constitution, like when I get out of balance, I want to move too fast. I want to get stuff done, sometimes at the detriment of the end product. So as we're building this community and building the business, one of the things that I've learned is to go really slow and get it right and unlock as much value in a compressed audience, get that right, and then expand. And
yeah.
so I look to my 80-year-old self and I say, what decision did you make? And it helps me to go, I know what he did. He
That's
he
fun.
he sat, he didn't rush, he was thorough, and that's what I need to be more of. And that'll lead me to that guy who's nodding in the mirror, who knows courage is amazing. You know, it's a great attribute. But courage to charge a hill before you know what's on the other side could be the dumbest thing you've ever done. Having the patience to sit with things, even your feelings. I would say this, I know you're going to get to like a takeaway, but I'll tell you one of the best takeaways, and then I'll reiterate it when you ask the question later, is to recognize that as humans, one of the things I learned for myself is this idea of PDS. When we're under stress and when things don't feel comfortable, oftentimes we look to PDS, which is pacify, distract, and then sedate ourselves.
Hmm.
So we want to pacify, like, hey, this doesn't feel comfortable. And we want like someone to tell us it's okay, you don't have, it's okay. And then we distract ourselves, turn on the TV, not be silent, and then sedate ourselves, which is, find a way to be okay being distracted. And that's the trap that I've found, that anytime you stop making progress, a little bit of fear comes in, a little bit of feeling like, oh man, like what's here for me? Why don't I feel okay? Rather than just sit with it and learn how you can liberate yourself, we often will grab the pacification, the distraction, and then how do I sedate myself so I don't have to deal with what's here? And that's the trap to not going deep enough to really liberate yourself and saying, hey man, I could be with this. Hey, man,
Yeah.
that's cool. Like that's fine. But we'll never get through that if we're constantly trying to pacify, distract, and sedate ourselves.
Mm, mm. Oh my goodness. Okay, I only have a couple
It's
more questions left.
uncomfortable,
It is, it
but
is.
it's so
100%.
valuable.
And I can see that exact thing in many moments of my life of where I've done that and I still do it. And luckily you get called on it and you're like, all right, I'm doing this right now. Why? And what am I like to be self-aware. And so I love having these conversations with people like you that have phenomenal way to name it and understand it and then work through it. So you're not doing that to numb, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And I love that you brought that up because this is something I don't visit enough, which is having compassion for yourself and not judging yourself. Like you brought up, like we all do it and we get called out on it. Sometimes when we get called out on it, or we call ourselves out on it, we immediately follow that with judgment. And I would just say one of the biggest things I learned is that there's no sense in judging yourself. Certainly no sense in judging other people. And just saying like, yeah, gosh, I went and tried to pacify myself. Like, that's cool. Like, I'm a little loving, kind of gushing child who needs a hug every now and then. All right, it's okay.
yeah.
But as long as you can pull yourself out of that, and I call that like you kind of slip in, and we all do it because we're human. We slip into this like victim's energy, and it's fine. Like, life is hard. We get thumped on the nose, right? You run inside because someone called you a name and you go, Mom, he called me a name. And she's like, oh, you're the sweetest, it's okay. And you're like, thanks, Mom, I feel better. But at some point, you can't lay around anymore. You have to start to move, and you'll move into your ego's energy, which is like, I'll show them. But eventually, if you give yourself enough time, you'll move into your soul's energy, which is, my life has nothing to do with what anyone else is doing. It's an inside job. And can I be okay with this? What can I learn from this? What can I apply? And am I taking my life in the direction to experience it the way I want to experience it, with as much love, compassion, and peace as I can possibly bring into my life?
Yeah.
Like, that to me is like the holy grail, peace.
Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. I want to ask you why do you keep showing up for your clients? Like why you're crushing it. Why do you keep doing what you do right now?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And like, I think, I've studied like the Bhagavad Gita and really learned like a lot about Dharma and what is your purpose. And really, I think our purpose is to show up fully and to empty the tank. I studied like Gandhi and people like that who were able to do that. And I wanted, and I was kind of seeking, what is it that's going to allow me to pour all of my passion into something. And it's through this process, which isn't all that sexy. It's called dissension. Dissension is when you start losing all of these identities, and things that used to matter to you like start to fall off, and you almost start to feel lost because all the old forms of manipulation that used to get you to do something, all your old limiting beliefs, they start to dissolve. And then you kind of get to this place where you've pushed the boundary of, okay, I used to do stuff all the time to feel better about myself and prove that I'm enough. Now I know that I'm enough and there's absolutely no reason for me to do anything. How do I sit in the middle of that, right? Like, wisdom's telling me I'm nothing, love's telling me I'm everything. I have to find my balance somewhere in the middle and then let my life flow. By doing that, it awakened this inspiration similar to that Michael Jordan video that said, hey, come fly with me. I feel like my 80-year-old self said, hey, come sit next to me. Learn the power of patience and learn the power of sitting with stuff and learn that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with anybody else. But let's get inspired by what we want to go do with life and join forces with all the right people, and let's go see what we can accomplish. So my curiosity gets me showing up. Like, I have more energy for what I do today than I did when I was an executive, sadly. But it's driven through curiosity. And when I'm working with someone or a team and I can help them realize that there's nothing to be afraid of, the reason that you feel stuck, the reason the results aren't showing up is because you're acting out of fear. Fear causes you to look at symptoms, then cause you to look for pills, right? Like, that's what our whole healthcare system's driven off of pharmaceuticals. Like, I don't feel right. What pill can I take? What magic something, supplement, drink? Can I get a different scale that tells me something different when I step on it? Like, whatever it is, we're looking for these things to pacify, distract, and sedate ourselves to tell us, like, it's okay. Here's a pill. It'll make you feel better.
Hmm.
Rather than get to the root cause and say, like, maybe I can do a little bit of different engineering, knowing there's nothing wrong with me, and just start to change the way I feel, change my patterns, and change my outcomes, and build an ecosystem that's going to generate all the results that I want, instead of looking at symptoms with a lens of there's something wrong.
Huh.
So when I get to work with a leadership group, for example, and that gets through to them, and they have an aha moment of like, holy shit, like, you're right. I'm constantly afraid my team's not doing what they're supposed to do. I'm not going to hit my numbers, this, that, or the other. So what do? I focus on how do we change the symptoms so that I can feel better, which is a fool's errand. You'll never feel better chasing the symptoms, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's so
Yeah.
many studies that show that. What you will feel better about is knowing that you're building and creating the right ecosystem focused on the customer, the outcomes, the work that you're doing. And then you'll look up and you'll be like, holy cow, we've been doing this for 2 years and we far exceeded our expectations. When you watch that emotion and that light go off for a leadership team, maybe a CEO, maybe just like their leaders, like, they're like, wow, I just got a new taste of what life can be like from here on out. How could you not show up fully for that
Huh.
when you know what's on the other side,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's what gets me showing up.
I love that. All right. At this point, people are thinking, oh my gosh, I want to talk to you more. I want to find you. Where's your favorite place for people to come find you?
Well, there's probably three main places. Certainly my website is the best. If you want to interact with me personally, sandegolgart.com. It's SandeGolgart. You'll see it in the notes.com. Also on LinkedIn, it's just LinkedIn/Sande Golgart. Or on Instagram, it's just at Sande Golgart. Those are probably the three best. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me, in other places, TikTok, etc. But those would be the main places to connect with me.
Perfect. I love it. All right. We're down to our last two questions. First one is, what's next? Like, what's on the horizon for you?
Well, I've recently gotten incredibly curious about this idea of compression before expansion. And this is, to me, like, I've become really interested in physics, but think of how expansive our universe is. Like, it's mind-blowing, right? It's infinite, and then it's folding in on itself at the same time. Like, it's mind-bending. That level of expansion came from a single point, or a point of singularity. So a tiny spot in space that was as small as the tip of a pin exploded into our universe. So think of how much compressed energy was inside of that point of singularity that exploded and created the entire universe. That is a concept I'm really diving into deep with my clients. How can we bring you to a point of compression where we focus on just one thing that we could master and get right? Or as a company, what's one customer so narrowly defined that we could get it, we could unlock some value that would be that single point of that point of singularity, and then use that to expand and kind of explode and create this world of expansion, which is hopefully your company. All the employees make a ton of money, and everyone is incredibly happy and curious along the way. That is next for me. So what we've decided within the community, there's not a ton of support for like divorced dads. And so we're creating a small, like narrowly focused community to help men, kind of middle-aged men going through a divorce. It's a really tough time in their life, to help them understand, like, this is not the time to let your emotions get the best of you. Here's a way to regulate your nervous system. Here's a way to look at the things you can do as you're going through this, so that on the other side, you're your most powerful, vibrant, curious self, so that from this point in your life, which may feel like devastation, can actually be your most expansive jumping off point. And so we're in the final stages of finalizing that really narrowly defined part of our community. And we have a ton of people, already interested in, and it's just amazing when people go through any different thing, whatever the thing is. And that's part of the problem of narrowing it down. Like, I love helping everybody.
Yeah.
But like this one particular, like, men aren't great at supporting each other. If you go through any, like, people are kind of like, I don't want to bother him. I don't know how he feels. I don't know if like, I don't know what's going on. So I'll just leave him alone. And men can get very lonely. And they're usually like, blame kind of piles up on men for why a relationship didn't go well, for whatever reason. I don't really even know why, but I've just found through other communities, being part of Peter Crone's community, that exists. And I do think there's room for how we can teach or show, or invite is probably a better word. Invite men to start showing up differently for themselves, start to free themselves so much so that they can allow, if they want a future partner, allow a woman to enter their life and unlock the full, like, feminine, like, energy, which you can only unlock by being so secure with yourself that you allow them to be exactly who they are, the way they are, without any expectation they'll change. And you'll see this unbelievably vibrant, powerful woman emerge that is just being herself, like, fully in like her feminine energy. So I think that's a really cool future to be curious about, and help men show up different for themselves, learn to love themselves a little more, access these different energies that are available to them. Most men walk around in like a warrior energy, and it's not healthy. It's a great energy when it's called upon, but if you're just a warrior all the time, that's like chaos. So teaching people about these different archetypes that we have access to, learn how to access them, you'll create more harmony and actually become a more powerful man by knowing what energy to access at the right time, rather than just trying to be a warrior of showing everyone, like, I'm not bothered, nothing gets under my skin, like, I just work, work, work. Then you'll wake up someday and realize how unhappy you are, which would be really unfortunate
Right.
during your lifetime. So that's what's next.
Nice.
I am really excited about it. I don't know if
I
you
can
can tell.
tell. I know. I want everybody listening to like stay following all of your social media, so that way they keep
Yeah, me too.
posted about it all. All right, this is it. The last question. It's really, what do we want to leave everyone with? Like, what are your golden nuggets or words of wisdom that will end the show?
Yeah, number one for me is, realize, anyone that's listening, there's nothing wrong with you. And when you realize that, and then you get back to remembering that you're a boundless, limitless soul, you will start to remember and tap back into everything that makes you this boundless, limitless person who's fully capable of doing whatever you want. But society, for what no fault of its own, it's just because we're humans, like, we're the only ones kind of screwing everything up. We generally walk around in fear trying to survive when we don't really need to, and we're looking at everything from a lens of what's wrong. And humans do that to themselves. Like, what's wrong with me? The moment you realize there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with anybody else. That's like the ultimate place of freedom where you can start to explore. And you'll see people unlock like years of addiction, years of like, uh, habits that they've created, all because they think there's something wrong with them and they're judging themselves. Once they drop the judgment, once they drop that kind of belief that there's something wrong with them, you'll see that like the need for anything else that's needed to pacify, distract, and sedate them goes away. It might not go away day one, but it'll dissolve as your limited belief dissolves that you're anything but limitless and boundless. If you can just do that, you'll realize you have a blank canvas.
Yeah.
And you have anything you want to throw on there and do as an expression of who you are. You'll start to remember, even though it's the scariest thing, is to remember how powerful you actually are. Like they say in our subconscious, that's what we're most afraid of. And we're afraid of it because when you realize that, you have to drop all the narratives that say, well, this happened to me, that happened to me. Of course, I can't really do what I want because fill in the blank. When all that goes away, you're left going, it's like the Matrix when she says, are you the one? And he goes, I don't think so. She goes, yeah, I'm afraid you're not. But then he just later has to wait until he believes he's the one in the waiting room with all the kids who already know they're the one. Like we're all the one.
Right.
It's just remembering that and then acting upon it. And acting upon it doesn't mean you're going to overnight become the CEO of some big startup, but you can start from this small place of compression, your own point of singularity that can explode and build this amazing universe of yourself where you can be such a guiding light to other people. You can be so much fun to be around. People will just love the version of themselves they get to be when they're around you.
Yeah.
And you'll start to see your people emerge. And it can be this really beautiful, amazing way to taste life.
Nice. Sande, you've been amazing. I love all your little nuggets that we got to talk about and your stories. Of course, we already talked about that, how much we love telling stories.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate you so much for coming on the show. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for making it this far. And I appreciate you guys watching the show. And I can't wait to see everybody in the next show. And everybody here at Sande, you guys go have a great day, right? I'll see
We
you,
will.
everybody, later.
Thank you, Tiffany, for having the show and having me on. It's really a pleasure.
Thank you again. Bye.